I got an interesting message the other day. It was from a user named ForImperium, and he wanted me to interview him for my channel. He had seen my really old video about European ultra-nationalism and wanted to spread the word as he sees it. He's a Russian going to school in Paris, and he seemed like maybe he held some more advanced intellectual position about cultural heritage than most of the mouth-breathing racists of YouTube. So I listened to what he had to say. After a couple PMs and reading his channel page, though, I was no longer under that illusion. He had uploaded the entire KKK promoting silent movie called Birth of a Nation. The KKK and high intellect don't really go hand in hand. He's very interested in the preservation of his culture, whatever that means to him. And I think I have an idea of what that means, but I'll let him answer that if I interview him. I've always found the idea of preservation of culture to be a strange idea, and I can understand wanting to preserve the culture if that's what people want, especially if someone is systematically trying to stamp it out, like the Russians tried to do in their Eastern European satellites for decades after World War II. I can also understand wanting to document a culture through photos, books, and video, so that we have a history of it. If a culture decides that they would like to change because they've seen that there's a better life in it for them, though, then well, the culture will change. They can celebrate their past in a way that still allows them to move forward. Germans can celebrate Oktoberfest and still manufacture high-tech cars. Cultures are a marketplace of ideas. Take Egypt now, for instance. Certainly there are people protesting from all kinds of different backgrounds, but you know there are a significant number of protesters that have been educated in the West, or at least know that there are a couple Western values that would improve their country significantly. Even an Egyptian-American executive from Google got involved. These people are trying to change their culture to something that they feel is better, and if they're able to convince enough people, then it will change. It's not up to us. We can only advise them. In the same way, it annoys me when I see stories about people lamenting the loss of a culture, like a story I saw recently about some remote Amazon tribes. If they want to live more like we do and perhaps double their life expectancies, are we really going to tell them no because they need to preserve that culture? Normally we love telling other cultures how to live, but we want them to stay the same so we can observe them like they're an exhibit in a zoo or something? That's pretty demeaning. They have the right to take on any culture they want. This also applies to our culture. Just because we're a sedentary culture that loves bad reality television and fast food, does that mean we always have to? Should we shed a tear if there comes a time when mindless displays of patriotic symbolism lose their impact? Should we be offended for our country's sake if Christina Aguilera flubs a line from the Star-Spangled Banner? On a related note, the opinions of people that are heroes to at least some segments of the population, like George Washington, Jesus, Ronald Reagan, Muhammad, and so on, do not get a say in how we should live. I don't live for anyone that is dead. Yes, millions sacrificed their lives or had some good ideas that we still benefit from, but if their sacrifice meant that every future generation was obligated to live how they wanted us to live, then we'd probably wish they would stop sacrificing. It wouldn't be worth the cost of being a slave to someone else's ideas forever. So sure, ForImperium, I'd be happy to interview you at some point, but don't come into it thinking that I don't already understand the failed ideas of the past where your thinking comes from. You see, I base my culture around freedom of ideas and pursuit of happiness. I have the impression that you base your culture on skin color, ancestry, country, religion, or whatever little patch of earth your forefathers eked out a living on. You're actually partially right about one thing, though. In a hypothetical world, still full of different and vibrant races and cultures, and you and I representing the last two Caucasians of European descent on Earth, your definition of your culture would be dying, but mine would be alive and thriving.